All right, all right, all right. So, quick story. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and start with my rehab routine as I tell the story. So, I'm going to be moving around. So, went to judo this last Saturday, kind of picking up where I left off 2.5 years ago. That's why the story is so frustrating. Um, well, quick recap. 2.5, almost 3 years ago, I moved up here to Massachusetts. I had been practicing judo in Florida. Before that, had some time off when I lived in Seattle, and then I'd been practicing judo before that with my oldest daughter, who was a competitor. Um, so, was practicing judo at a local dojo, a good school. Um, Hurt my shoulder. 2 years off of rehab, and I was out of the gym and everything. Didn't do anything, which in part was a mistake, but I digest. Um, so finally, over the last 4 months, I've gotten back into the gym, getting back in better shape. Uh, as a lot of you might know, bringing my weight down by about 30 pounds so far. Um, and I was like, okay, well, I'm feeling good. Let's pick up judo again. Recently had a big career change, work change. Moved out of management, moved back into like a hourly role, working in high pressure steam, whatever. Point being, working on second shift, 3 to 11, Monday through Friday. So I couldn't find any judo schools that had morning classes, and there's only one I could find that I was aware of the school. I knew them beforehand, and they had classes on Saturday. So perfect. My old ass body can probably only hold up to one judo practice a week anyway. So the fact that I was trapped into doing one practice a week works out. So this last Saturday was the first practice, kind of going over. Like most places, they had an introductory class. You just come in for a class. You have to sign a waiver like any other place. Signed the waiver, no big deal. Went through the practice. Everything was going fine. Felt good. Felt light on my feet because I've lost weight. Felt kind of strong, just kind of pushing him back and forth in some of the drills. What they're called uchikomis, but this sort of thing was feeling good. And then we went through drills. Started doing drills on that particular day. Come to find out, this school does. Oh, it's a pair of ducks. Anyway, this school does an 8-week cycle, so they'll work on a certain group of throws for about 8 weeks, dial those in, and then they move to another set of throws, and on an 8-week cycle like that. So I guess for right now, they're on Osotogari, which is like the base throw of judo, really. A lot of people will say maybe it's Uchimata, because they call it the king of throws, or the queen of throws, whatever. I really like Osotogari, because Osotogari kind of morphs into almost whatever throw you want it to be. That basically that kind of pulling, pushing, and then reaping. You can't really see it, but that reaping action. And that's what Osotogari means. Major outer reap. For you wrestlers out there, it's an outside reap. Any case, so we were practicing that. Went over that for a while, just playing Osotogari, just running drills. We're not even throwing full. Then we started going into combinations, because not every throw is going to hit. So you kind of want to have a flow built into your throws to where, okay, I really tried for that one, it failed, but now I can transition into something else. And so specifically we were working on, and this is a classic combination, there's nothing secret about it, Osotogari to Sasai, or Sasai Surakomi Ashi. So Osotogari is a major outer reap. Hold on, let me make some space. I can't move because my back. So you have, if I'm facing you, you're my opponent. I've got your lapel with this hand, I've got your elbow with this hand. So Osotogari is coming here, I'm off balancing this way, and then I'm sweeping behind. The old back trip from the playground in school is what it is, where you come up and just back trip somebody and push them down. It's kind of like that. So say that fails, I stall out. Well, Sasai you can transition, back step. I'm gonna post in front of the foot. You can't see it, but I'm posting in front of the foot, and you bring them back this way, so it's a trip. It's what's called an ashiwaza, a foot technique. So, Osoto to Sasai, common combination. The other one we were working on was, what were we working on? Oh, Osoto to Ouchigari. So, if Osoto Gari is a major outer reap, kind of like that bully playground throw where you trip them and push them down, Ouchigari goes to the inside of the leg. So Osoto, this is going to turn into a whole fucking judo lesson, but anyway, so O in Japanese is like great, or major, big, right? So Osoto Gari is major outer reap, right? So you got a big, boom, outer reap. Ouchi Gari is inner reap, right? So instead of going outside the legs and tripping the outside, it's going to go inside the leg, where you come in and you fish behind their leg and take them down that way. So again, if you're in Osoto, let me change this. You need to see my feet. I know you're not asking for a judo lesson today, but fuck it. All right, so Osoto, boom, right? Ouchi, I'm coming straight in line if you're standing square to me. Come in, right? And then you're gonna come inside the leg. And again, for you wrestlers, it's an inner reap, right? Where you're hooking that leg and pulling it this way, and then your upper body's going that way. So we were working on those two combinations, Osoto to Sasai, Osoto to Ouchi. Well, that's A, B. You want to have a C, right? So Ouchi or Osoto to Ouchi, if they step out and they dodge it, they're ready for another throw called Hizaguruma. I'm not an expert on all the throws. Again, I'm 2.5 years out. I need to study my terminology. But Hizaguruma is like a knee wheel, I think. So basically, you would step. You're still facing this way, right? And I'm stepping out while having a hold to you because you're bent over, right? My Ouchi failed. And now, I come across to your far knee, post, and then I'm driving you around that leg for a throw, hopefully for the win, right? That's the long-ass way of saying that's what we were working on. I know most of you don't know judo terminology, that's why I took the time to explain it, if you're interested. So, we were doing that, and the guy's a brown belt that I'm working with, and I'll make another side note. If you're into martial arts, comment below, because I think what I say applies to most martial arts that are belt-based. And even if you're a wrestler or something that doesn't really have belt-based ranking, there's going to be somebody like this in your class. In judo, every dojo that I've been to, every place that I've trained at, has at least one brown belt. This is not going to be PC, so take your PC hat off real quick. They have one brown belt that's a fucking retard. There's no other way to put it. You expect the unexpected with lower ranked, inexperienced players. This is the same in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, basically any martial art, because new players, like white belt, or even if you're a boxer, or if you're a wrestler, the new guys don't really know what they're doing. Nothing wrong with that because they're learning. So they will do unexpected stuff because they don't know any better. Now that's not saying you should be predictable whenever you're practicing a martial art, especially a competitive martial art like judo, that's an Olympic sport. However, certain movements flow into other movements because the human body is basically the same anywhere you go. That's why in old European martial arts you'll find what they call a kimura, you know, the fucking shoulder elbow thing. Just like you'll find it in jiu-jitsu, just like you'll find it in Chinese grappling, you'll find it in any grappling, because when you do this to the arm in a certain way, it hurts, and you can tear out the shoulder. That's the same in Europe, that's the same in Asia, that's the same in South America, because it's a human body. It works the same. So point being, you'll always have this one brown belt in class that the instructors really don't want to promote. And you have to be careful of that person, because they're just as spastic as a white belt. They're unpredictable. It's just they've been there long enough that a lot of times I get the feeling, now I've never been an instructor, I'm not an instructor, but you get the feeling that the instructors have slowly promoted them through the rankings just because they've been there forever and they don't quit. Be careful of that person. It's the only thing I can say. That's why I'm standing here right now, and like I'm trying to stand up straight. You can see that my hip is shifted over this way, because I think I might have found that brown belt. I can't be sure of that. I only went to one class. But anyways, we were working on drills, laboring to, I can ramble all day. But so getting to the end of this particular story, how I got hurt, we were doing the drills, and because he's a brown belt, and I'm kind of an experienced grappler, I haven't been able to promote because I've moved around a lot. So I'm a green belt. Oh, it would help if you know the ranking system. White, yellow, orange, green, brown, 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 black. So as rankings go, a green belt is about midway. I would say that my grappling experience is not represented by my belt, because I grappled before I ever got into judo. And like I said, grappling is kind of grappling. It's just the rule set changes, because the human body moves in the same way no matter how you're grappling it. So in any case, I'm a green belt with some experience. He's a brown belt. And so through the drill, we started kind of free-flowing some of the things, but under no stress. There was no stress. It's just kind of a flowing movement where, okay, you've moved this way, it didn't work, so I'm kind of just doing a feeling. It's just a feeling. There's no tension involved. Well, at one point, this guy was really intent on getting like a top collar grip, right? He would be gripping me like this from the front. Well, number one, in competition, I'm never going to give you that grip. In judo, I'm never going to give you that grip. And on top of that, so with his right hand, he had a top collar grip. And then with his left arm, he had an underhook under my right arm. So if you can imagine, he's like this and like this. And I'm bent over in front of him. How we got in that position, I don't remember. He was wanting to work on something or whatever. But me being the uke, or the one receiving the technique, I'm letting him have it, because it's not under stress. It's not a competitive thing. If it was, you're not getting that grip. You're not going to get that grip in competition, because that's a very dominant grip to give up. And an underhook. Why would I give you an underhook in judo, or wrestling for that matter, if I can get a... But again, point being, it was not a competitive situation. It was a drilling situation. And then out of the blue, as I'm bent over, kind of relaxed, because we're just flowing, the guy jerks and at the same time torques. And so if you can imagine me, I can't do it right now, but if you can imagine me bent over, getting pulled out of nowhere in a totally relaxed state. So I'm not even tense, defensive. I'm just kind of relaxed because we're flowing. Pulls and then jerks. Well, all down this, right through here, going into my hip, up here, I just feel it. And I knew as soon as it happened. I felt it before. It's happened before. Basically, I just thought, fuck. Because it's been 2.5 years since I was able to get on the mat. And here we are, halfway, 2/3 of the way through my first practice back, and then this bullshit, And so, and I'm not bad-mouthing this guy. Like I said, I made the brown belt comment. I don't know if he's that guy. He didn't seem like it. And like I said, we were free-flowing. I just don't know why he did that in that particular moment when we weren't throwing. We were just working up to the point of where a throw would happen and then keep flowing. Because if you throw all the time, you slow down the practice, you're slowing down that drill to get in the position. because the throws will come in randori or tachiwaza. Tachiwaza is just, if I remember right, the throwing techniques, like standing. You have neiwaza on the ground, tachiwaza standing. And so usually that comes at the end of practice. You'll have some randori or tachiwaza rounds. You might have some neiwaza rounds on the ground. We hadn't got to that yet. So I don't have a good explanation for it. But anyways, it happened. And I think it's my QL. Quadris laborum, something like that. But basically, if you imagine my spine, the bottom part of my spine attaching to the rib cage, going down to the hip, is all jacked up. I don't think it's torn. It's not torn. If I was to make my own diagnosis, I would say it's like a moderate level 1 to a mild level 2 strain. It's bad enough I had trouble putting my shoes on, or you're laying on your back and you do a thrust up on your heels, try to lift your pelvis off the ground. That hurts. I can do basic movement, what they call bird dogs. If you're on all fours and you do opposite hand and foot, I can do those. I can do cat cow with my back. And then as I'm standing, I feel okay. I can still feel that it's sensitive. And like I said, you can see my hip is shifted right now. But that's the beginning of my judo comeback story. Hurt again. So I'm guessing about 3 weeks. So 3 weeks, start going through some mobility. Next week, start doing some strengthening. We'll see from there. Luckily, I didn't sign a contract with him yet. I just did the one class, and I stepped out of class as soon as it happened, because I've learned that if something happens, stop the class right then. Don't keep going. Don't make it worse. So I did do that. So there it is. The beginning of the judo comeback story. All right. Anyways, go have a good one. We'll see you next time.